maybe I'm over eager and like biting off more than I can chew, but I think there's a way where like that veil can become no more. Like where I realize that there is a kind of an idolatrous danger in like getting stuck at the physical level, and like the images and not, like not seeing through the images. But I think that there's a way where the image can actually image forth what is behind it,
Of
like,
course.
and I think that's what Steiner was trying to point out with eurythmy, but I don't know if I really am with his framing of it. But yeah, I think that, like, I think there are moments where, like we actually physically appear differently or something. I don't know how to put it.
Bearing this in mind, let us look into the countenance of a person. As far as we depend on our senses, the image we perceive is of course correct. We cannot be mistaken, since we are dealing with a sense impression. Now the intellect enters the picture, and does so subconsciously. We are confronted immediately with a classic example of erroneous judgment. For how does the mind conceive the human countenance in relation to the forces that formed it? It thinks of it as having been shaped from outside, whereas the face is really the product of the sentient soul working outward from within. We judge incorrectly when we look into a person's countenance and say that it is actually material body. We must say instead that what the senses perceive here is the outer image of the sentient soul, the soul itself, and that soul works outward from within. You have reached the correct conclusion when you view the human face as soul. Let me read that sentence again. You have reached the correct conclusion when you view the human face as soul. You look at a human face that is the picture of a soul. And while looking at this picture of the soul, of course it is only an image, you think of it as corporeal. That view is totally mistaken and demonstrates how wrongly we interpret things as soon as we call on our power of judgment. We form correct views of external images only if we understand them correctly, if we speak of the human countenance as an, quote, image of the soul, unquote, and recognize the mistake in trying to explain it only on the basis of the physical and etheric forces. This human countenance must be explained out of the forces of the soul itself. The visible is explained in terms of the invisible in this case.
Like the sparkle, the shine, glory, the glory of God. And it's
Yeah.
It's the peeking into the totality of their being in the eschaton.
it's kind of a patterned shining. It's not like we literally a color change or something.
It's the capacity we have already to be in that moment and to participate in it.
I don't know. I kind of still hold out the idea that maybe when Christ was transfigured, that there was actual light, like
Oh, for
actual,
sure.
like,
I
yeah.
mean, this is what in the Orthodox Church they call it the light of Tabor. You know,